Carlos, we are here at the EDN pilot. We live here. We have a few other engineers that live with us. We create all of our projects here. Today's a special day. We have a barbecue going on for the full Colombian team that's joining us. We get a lot of kind of interesting questions because what we're doing is so different and so out of the norm of what you'd expect from a startup. So I wanted to just take a moment while we're here, while the full team's here, to ask some questions to you. Hopefully you'll ask some questions to me from the community, kind of why we're doing what we're doing, why we decided to leave the Silicon Valley scene and continue on this very unusual path to creating something really amazing and impressive. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Who are you? What have you done? Why are you here?
100% of my background is in engineering. I'm an electromechanical engineer. I worked before in mechanical and electrical, things before. And actually, I was one of the guys that started the maker movement here in Colombia. So we started with zero people, and now we have thousands of engineers joining us continually in our movement here. And I have background with IoT. I actually founded a company. The company is called Enerbox. Now it's no longer available, but was a very nice experience. And then I worked with EcoCan. EcoCan is a really interesting project. It's related to clean energy, actually, and IoT. So I just mix all background, and we have big projects here. So my background in technical side is, I think the most important here to grow our project.
I definitely agree with that. The way you and I know each other is I was interested in studying applied physics, actually.
I remember.
I wanted to be able to do product development, but from the perspective of the sciences and kind of the way everything interacts with each other. And I remember just kind of after spending a few lessons with you, we both just had this realization, like, why don't we just do projects together? Why don't we just build something crazy? And I think that was really the exact moment that we decided to take this risk. I mean, it's in a very unusual path that we're on. This isn't the typical direction of a startup. We decided to move to a farm in the middle of nature. This is kind of our pilot. We live together, we work together, we're on top of each other's heads all the time. It's a funny place to be, but definitely there's a reason why you're the director of new projects here, is because you oversee all new technical everything, and your background is so mixed that you're not the kind of person who's necessarily an expert in one field, but you know how to connect all of the dots, and that's really important to me. And I really enjoy that and appreciate working with you because of that.
So can you tell all the audience where all the EDN idea came from?
The original idea of EDN was the fantasy of the 10-year-old version of me. I remember probably watching a movie or I don't know, something like that, and just being inspired to own my own country. That was that was my first real dream. And then over time, as I started getting more involved in the technical scene and the engineering scene, it evolved into a country or city of engineers. It hadn't been really defined. The original idea was, let me buy an island, put a bunch of engineers on it, and see what happens. And this was all when I was, 13, 14 years old, around that age. And then it just kind of disappeared. Naturally you start doing different businesses, you start working as a consultant, your time gets consumed by everything else. And it's a very big concept. It's not something that you just decide one day to do. But after we met each other, I had kind of generally explained what my intentions were, and hopefully leveraging Colombia's incredible, group of really strong brains and minds and people who have a lot of intelligence but not a lot of opportunity. And as we were talking, I started realizing you were very much in the Colombian startup scene. And the only thing that was holding us back from actually doing this was doing it. And it was kind of one of those weird moments where for some reason something clicked. So the original idea, and to just get back to the question, the original idea is years and years and years old, and I don't even want to take credit for the idea, because a lot of people that I talk to in the engineering space kind of fantasize about this kind of concept.
This is a common fantasy from engineers, actually, because all engineers can see, the big things in the world. All of them want to be, like Iron Man, to have really,
I agree.
it's pretty common thing. So all of them, have their minds, but the difference between their minds and actually doing something great for the world is more or less what we are doing here.
Yep. It's everything at the end of the day comes down to risk versus reward. The risk here is high, just like every other venture, but the reward is extremely high too, from both the financial perspective and potentially the impact that we can hopefully make on humanity and creation in general. Humanity is the wrong word to use here, because one of our fundamental beliefs is that we should be kind of bringing together and overseeing and making sure the progression of creation, whether that's animals or it's land or the environment or humans, we want to see things flourish and we want to empower people. And we're at a very interesting point in history. We actually have the opportunity to do this. We can live, this is something that fascinates me. We get to live in the middle of nature, in the middle of a farm, and have amazing internet access, have access to a huge city that 60% of industry lives out of, just an hour away from us. You could never achieve this at another point of history.
Yeah, I'm 100% agree with you. We are, in a very specific point of the history that, any child in any country and anyone at the end can change, the way most of the things work, for good or maybe for bad. That's not the point here, but
the point. It's that they have access to doing it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have in a very unique point in human history. So it's really good to hear from you that we are doing something.
I feel it like every other project you work on. Things, there's ups, there's downs. Things are harder, things are easier. Especially like we're living a social experiment. We all live together, and because we're still in the early stages of our full vision, we don't have private houses. We don't have a private apartment. We're so close to each other, and there's always those moments where things feel very difficult. But you wake up, and it's something that I could get inspired about on a daily basis. And I haven't had that in years and years and years. And that's how I really know that this is the right path for us, and that we're doing something extremely special that I think a lot of people dream about. That's why to get back to your first question, this is not my idea, it's not your idea. It's kind of cumulative in the community of engineers and people who want to create and contribute. It's just a matter of who's willing to do it, and we were the ones who were willing to do it.
Exactly. I agree totally.
So Carlos, I know my vision of where I believe we're going to be in 5 or 10 years, but we get this question a lot, so I wanted to just take a minute and ask you, what's your vision of Eden? Where does this go, and how do we progress forward?
I can have actually two answers here, from the fantasy perspective, but the actual thing that we are doing, no? So from the current things that we are working on now, I see a very big impact here in local Colombian ecosystem, because we are not doing the standard startup for for social media or for these specific sectors. We are trying to make a really big difference, because we want to impact ourselves, but then go to the world to make a bigger impact with the things that we are doing, no?
Yeah.
So I see this in 5 years, like a big city, not from the obvious perspective, but from the perspective that we can have here, research and development in a continuous way.
Yeah.
We are like the dream factory from the biggest.
It's a good way to put it. We're a dream factory.
Exactly. So like the biggest companies in the world. From the fantasy side, I should say that maybe we can have here in 5 years something like this big fantasy movies, very smart buildings, everything connected, with the full power of internet. That's, more or less.
I don't think it's too much of a fantasy. We're already working, for example, cosmic IoT. We're building an industrial IoT.
Yeah, you're right.
We are building heavy lift drones and micro drones, and it's a huge part of industry in general, just moving things around that you can't normally do. Especially the land that we have for the city of Eden is not the easiest to access at the current moment. So I don't see it as being so much fantasy. What I do really think is interesting, and what I agree heavily with you about, is that we're solving our own problems in order to solve other people's problems and then sell those solutions. We just have needs. We're humans. We live, so we need stuff. And we've been building and leveraging technology to make our lives easier and better.
Yeah, and I like something that I don't remember exactly when, but we talked about this specific thing that we are working in elegant solutions for the world.
Yeah, things that don't have to be the most complex, but solve the answer better than the solutions that exist right now. I think our token model is very powerful because it's about enabling people who don't have a voice normally to contribute solutions. And we talk about this a lot, but the world just seems to ignore certain types of people, whether you're too young, too old, your females get a bad, time trying to contribute solutions. If you're not part of the scientific community, if you're not part of the engineering community, if you're not an entrepreneur, you just get left out. And the kind of big question here is how many millions or even billions of solutions to really big meta challenges have been ignored because they came from the wrong person. So our token model is built around the idea of rewarding you for contributing concepts, but at the end of the day that the things that you contribute, they're going into production. And there's no other system in the world right now that crowdsources ideas and solutions, leaves those ideas and solutions as open source, and then builds a bridge to distribution and sales. That just doesn't exist. We're giving people and problem solvers the opportunity to actually know they're working on code and product that ships. That's one of the best feelings in the world. That's the reason why Google, Facebook, Apple attract such top talent, because it feels incredible to know that your concepts and your solutions actually hit the mass market. And nothing else like that is being implemented currently. So our token model really revolves around, first and foremost, rewarding you for trying to contribute. Whether you can do it or not, it doesn't matter. It's more about getting the conversation started and getting that flow of solutions through one system. And then the next level of it is about involving peer review and involving general and also broad expertise to verify those solutions that came through the system. And then ultimately you get to buy the products and services that come out of Eden companies. So for example, Cosmic IoT, our industrial and medical and military IoT solution, or Neon Air, our fleet of drones, or Gravitas, our surgical tool loss prevention system. I mean, these are real life-changing products and services we've created, and people now have the opportunity not only to contribute to them and get it to market, but then also to use their rewards to go and purchase those products and services. To me, it's kind of a utopia. I don't have a better word for it, and I don't love that word, but it feels like a product and marketing utopia. For me, one of the most inspiring parts of our token model is that we're empowering people. There's no other system in the world that says we're going to forget about all of your characteristics. We don't care if you've been to university. We don't care if you're a scientist. We don't care if you're wealthy, if you're poor. None of that matters to us. All we care about is the end result, the solution. And you hear these companies talking about this a lot. You hear Google saying, yeah, we're a results-oriented company. And at the end of the day, they're still, hiring people based off of resumes and things like that. Yeah. So I think the first part of our token model is empowering anybody to provide a solution and get rewarded for open source contributions to our projects. But I think kind of an extension of that is this is our secret and private ability to find the top talent in the world, regardless of everything else. I don't care if you went to university. I don't care if you graduated, if you're, a PhD or not. If you're good at what you do, come and join us. That's the theory and the logic here. Let's bring the greatest thinkers together and let's solve the greatest challenges.
Yeah, totally agree. We are working for bigger purpose, so we don't see the people specifically in the way they actually learn things, but the way they do things. No,
Exactly.
that's our difference. So this specific thing that you said before about Google and these big companies, I actually agree because most of these companies, are even though they say they are open, they are pretty much closed because yeah, that's the way business works today, no? But we want to give this thing that we are doing a big shift for most of the things that are now in the startup market.
I don't think we're going to change hiring in general. I don't think every company will follow our process. But for us, we're going to start this way and we're going to make sure that we ignore the typical thing. I mean, look, every time we're about to hire someone, we don't even look at resumes. We prefer to look at the portfolio. We prefer to dive into their GitHub accounts. We want to understand what this person has created and contributed in any facet, whether they're joining us on the marketing team or if they're joining us in engineering. It's a different way to look at it. Some people think it's crazy. Resumes serve their place in the world. But when you're talking about a company with tens of thousands of employees, the way that they're actually validating you is through algorithms. So if you're not good enough to write your resume in the right way, you're just left out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I really thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I just wanted to kind of generally address our community, some of the questions, some of the crazy ideas that we have. There's definitely a lot more to talk about, but for right now, I think this is a great start.
Yeah, I really thanks for having me here again.
We're both here. We live here.
We live here. Actually, we are in the beta program.
We're in the beta program.
Yeah, but yeah, I really I would really have to say the audience that we are doing actually. So we are not only in beta, but
it's not just ideas. We've built physical products that are hitting market.
Exactly. Yeah. That's our bigger difference, no?
Yeah, I agree with that. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.